What's up, folks? Today we're going to be doing a rattle can job on some new fender flares. Um, if you've watched the videos before, you would have seen that I put some nice 3-inch flares on the Mustang, but now it's time to go bigger and better. These are the real deal ZG fender flares, the 280Z fender flares. Don't ask me where I got them from because I'm not going to tell you. I got to keep a few secrets to myself, and so I'm not letting this one go. But what I want to do is show you guys today how you can actually give yourself a pretty decent quality rattle can paint job. I have painted several pieces that are on the car now, and people can't actually tell the difference. So if you do it right, you can actually get pretty close to professional quality. It's not appropriate for all situations, but if you want something that's just good enough, this is how you do it. So first of all, this is the paint that I'm going to be using. I found this stuff by accident. It's actually an exact match for my car. So I lucked out on that note. Before we lay down paint, you want to make sure that your work surface is clear and free of dust. You want to be in a good warm temperature, definitely something above 60 degrees, because if it's colder out, the paint is just not going to adhere correctly, and it's not going to cure correctly, and then it's going to get a really nasty, weird texture. The other thing, you want to make sure your surfaces is clean. Make sure you don't have any dust or anything. So all of this stuff has been wiped clean because paint clings to dust and then it looks huge. So now that we've gotten started, we're going to go ahead and throw a primer on these fender flares. This stuff here is my favorite primer to use. This is the 2-in-1 primer filler from Rust-Oleum. This stuff goes on really smooth and the paint sticks to it really well. So definitely keep a couple of cans of this stuff handy. This is what we're going to start out with. So you want to make sure that your paint and your primer is well shaken, and you're just going to start out by doing really very thin misty coats. You're not going to try and get any really good coverage. You just want to get a nice even misting across, and you're just going to want to build up your layers. You don't want to ever try to cover anything because then you're going to get runs. So that's all you're going to want to do for your first coat. Also pay special attention to your edges because those usually get missed, and then you're going to come back and you're going to want to rush to do them. So make sure you get even coverage all the way around your edges. Notice the on-off painting action that I'm using, where you do a stroke and you lift off. That's to keep from getting overspray and heavy spots as you go back and forth when you stop. So the first layer is done, and that's about the coverage that you're looking for as you build up each layer. So now that you've done this, you're going to let it sit for about 5 minutes. The primer filler usually dries pretty quickly. So after about 5 minutes, we're going to hit this with the next layer. And we're going to continue building up these very misty layers until we get a nice solid gray base. All right, your primer is going to be set when it's a nice flat gray color. It should be very smooth and flat. Right now, if you've got fiberglass parts or anything like that, this is definitely a good time to look for any imperfections that you might have, because this is where they're going to show up the most. If you have a nice flat smooth gray surface, you're going to be ready to go ahead and apply your color. Like I said, I found this by sheer luck. This is an exact match for my car. And by the time we do this, it's not even going to need a clear coat when it's over. If you want an exact match for your car, you're probably going to want to order yourself a custom spray paint. There's a variety that you can order from online. You just have to look it up, put your paint code in, and then Advance and other part stores actually sell paint that's supposed to match your color. Alright, so the first coat of paint is on. It's very important not to get anxious and go too heavy with the paint. Even if you don't stop in one spot, you can still cause the paint to run, which you can see I did here. If you can see this very faint line going down in this direction here. And I also have a nice ugly run on this side as well. Don't mind these pits, these will go away. This is a very light coat, but always remember, take your time and make your coats very light. Don't try to fill in all your gaps on the first run. This is actually a much better first coat. And over here, I just got impatient on the other one, but it should still come out okay. So what you want to do when you're doing a rattle can job is you want to let 10 minutes go between coats. That allows it to kind of solidify up, and it'll make a nice base coat for it to accept the next coat. So in 10 minutes we're going to come back, we're going to hit it with another coat, and it's also important to remember that whatever direction your spray was going in, you want to try and come back and go in a different direction the next time to help fill in those gaps. Alright, by your fourth pass, you're really going to start to see this thing come to life. As you can see, the paint is extremely glossy at this point, and it's pretty smooth. It actually looks pretty bad on camera, but in real life, it's pretty smooth. There is some slight orange peel, but this is not show car stuff. This is, this is like gas monkey stuff. It's, it's good enough if you're going to stand back from the car. And, it's just a little penny pincher, money saver move. It's just good enough, I'm pretty happy with it. If I had taken this to the shop, it probably would have cost me $400. And honestly, for what I'm doing, it wasn't worth it. So this is definitely the way to go. So coat number 4, things are really starting to smooth out. Probably going to hit it with one more light coat. But as long as this thing doesn't get disturbed, this is how it's going to dry. It's going to have this level of gloss. I'm not going to do any kind of clear coat because I haven't had really good luck with clear coat in the past. I'm not really going to mess with it. The last thing, pretty much at this point, you're going to be anxious and you're going to really want to continue doing whatever you were doing with it. But this is the part that sucks about spray paint. This stuff takes forever to cure. Typically for me, I live on the East Coast. There's a lot of humidity when it is warm. It takes this stuff like a good 4 days to cure. If you do any kind of touching or manipulating of it within 4 days, you can actually touch it and you'll put a fingerprint in your paint and you'll never get that out. So just let it sit, put it somewhere where it's not going to get disturbed, where there's no dust, and just let it sit and you'll be happy. It'll be worth it. Whatever you do, do not put a fan on your paint. It's going to blow dust on it and it's going to ruin all of your work that you've done, and you're just going to make something that's just really nasty. So this is pretty much what it looks like. We'll come back in a few days and I'll show you the finished product, and then later on I'll actually be showing you guys what it looks like to put these things on the car. Alright, so take a look. This is the 12-hour update. As you can see, we've got a lot of gloss on here. There's a slight bit of orange peel, but again, totally not bad for a rattle can job. Anybody that looks at this is not going to be able to tell unless I tell them. There's a few spots on here that I can see that I could have done better on, but it is what it is, and I'm not going to redo them. So even though it's okay to handle a little bit right now, if I put any pressure on this, I could actually leave marks in it. The paint is still a little bit soft, so I could potentially like dig my fingernail into it. Generally, you don't really want to be manipulating this thing if you can still smell it. So take a whiff of it. If it still smells like chemicals, then the paint is not fully cured, and just let it sit. It takes a few days. So that's pretty much it for this video. Thanks for watching, and give it a shot and let me know how it goes.